Hi, Rena. Would you like to give us a brief introduction?
Yes, of course. So my name is Rena Elhessen. I am a academic coach at Swoon Learning, and I have been at Swoon Learning for about a year now. I actually graduated from UCLA with a major in English and another major in political science. And I am currently a English teacher, a AP World History teacher, and a reading comprehension teacher.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So, would you be able to tell me about what inspired you to become an academic coach and how your passion for education aligns with Swoon Learning's commitment to student growth and empowerment?
Yeah. So obviously the field of academics is ever changing, very much how English is ever changing, and so is math, and so is science, as discoveries are continuing to being made, and as overall knowledge is always ever expanding in our world, I would say. So what inspired me to become an academic coach is that I've always been in an education-oriented family. My mother's a teacher, my aunt has a doctorate in education, and I have studied, English language development. And I love that as a coach at Swoon Learning, I can integrate the skills I have had my entire life and continue to build on that in order to individually help students and work collaboratively with them and learn about them and their learning process and how to ensure that they are confident with the knowledge that they are gaining every day and they are comfortable as they learn.
That's amazing. So, how would you describe your coaching style and personality, and how do you think it influences your students?
So my coaching style is dependent on every student that I have. And that kind of goes hand in hand with, Swoon's mission, because we really emphasize, getting to know your student and working collaboratively with them through their school curriculum. So my coaching style is largely dependent on learning about my student, learning about what they like and they dislike, because I firmly believe that every student has their own way of learning and attaining information. And I do believe that sometimes schools enforce their own curriculum to such an extent that if a child doesn't get it, they will instantly become discouraged or not willing to fully complete the assignment or give full effort. So I like to ensure that each student is comfortable with what I am teaching and that we try to make it fun or find a way to make it easier to understand so that over time they will develop those foundational skills to start being more comfortable reading and writing and hopefully find that one specific book or book series that they will absolutely love and want to talk about.
That's amazing. It's really motivating. What would you say is the most significant thing that you've learned since you've started being an academic coach at Swoon?
I would say the most significant thing that I've learned actually is to be patient and to always know and remember that you are working with children who are essentially on the precipice of knowledge and growth and, puberty, obviously. So when you are dealing with a student, you may have, like last minute cancellations. You will have schedule changes, of course, because, with every semester, there's finals, there's presentations. I do have some younger students, so they have like rehearsals, recitals, like the Christmas shows. So the biggest thing I've learned is that you have to be patient and you always have to be understanding. And you always have to remember that every kid grows and learns at their own pace, and you're just here for the ride.
Absolutely. Yeah, every kid really is different in their needs. So, how do you specifically tailor your coaching methods to fit different and distinct learning styles and temperaments of those range of students?
Mhm. So I currently coach a range of students, and I'm very proud to say that. And my style, again, is very much dependent on the child. And a lot of the times it's trial and error of seeing what that child is comfortable with. For instance, like sometimes we will play vocabulary games or spelling games. And some students like those. Most of them like them, I would like to think. But of course, some of the students prefer to learn a simpler way, like flashcards, for instance. So it really depends. And another big thing I really prefer to do is always structure my lesson with what they are learning in class, because I want to avoid, informational collision, where it'll be that they're learning about something specific in class, and then I'll introduce a whole new separate concept. For instance, like if they're learning about conjunctions, and then I'll go ahead and introduce like storytelling. I would not want to introduce both of those lessons simultaneously. So I always try to ensure that my lessons are coherent with the current curriculum that they are on.
Absolutely. These sound like really great modifications. I do have one last question for you. But what do you think is unique about Swoon Learning's approach to tutoring?
Yeah, so I absolutely love Swoon because it has given me the ability to create lessons and instruct students in a very flexible way. So again, it comes hand in hand with the element of patience in that you have to learn about the student. You have to understand how their class is structured, and you also have to understand how they want to learn things, because every student will retain information completely differently. And Swoon Learning's approach is unique in itself because we are like right next to your child as they go through this class course. Like we will be hand in hand with homework. We will be hand in hand with making sure all the assignments are due on time. We'll be hand in hand with creating presentations as they are due. And all of this is done with support. And I think that is why Swoon Learning's approach is very unique in itself. Hi, Quinn. If you don't mind, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what brought you here to Swoon Learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to get started, my name's Quinn Guenther. I'm an academic coach at Swoon Learning. I currently coach in biology, chemistry, mathematics, and most standardized tests like the SAT. I attended UC Berkeley, where I majored in public health and a minor in nutritional science. And in the fall, I will be attending Duke University for a master's in physician associate.
Okay, wow, we're very lucky to have you with us then. So let's go ahead and tell us a bit more about what inspired you to become an academic coach. I understand you probably have a passion for education. So how does that align with Swoon Learning's commitment to student growth and empowerment?
Yeah, absolutely. I have been a private tutor for about 10 years now, and I was really drawn to how Swoon Learning specifically wanted to support students in building that knowledge foundation that I think is so critical to not only being able to navigate the world and school system as a whole, but to build confidence that, you as a student can take on and accomplish difficult things, even if you don't initially get it. And I think it's always been that chasing that moment, that light bulb, so to speak, in a student's eyes of understanding that, oh, I can not only learn this complex topic, but the very skills that I use to do so can be applied to many other facets of my life. So it's about really treating the student as a whole and making sure that their growth is aligned with the trajectories and the successes that they want to see in their own life. So I felt that Swoon was very aligned with that goal of mine to bring education to a level where students feel that sort of empowerment going forward.
Okay, wow, that sounds amazing. We are lucky to have you. So, why don't you tell us a bit about your coaching style and your personality towards your coaching style, and how does it affect your students?
I think growing up in the period where Bill Nye, the science guy, made science fun, especially for a lot of my classmates who were not science inclined, didn't want anything to do with it. I think he has been a role model in shaping my sort of academic coaching style and personality. I love to love what I am teaching because I think it helps the students stay more engaged. I don't mind being silly. I don't mind drawing on cultural references as long as it is conjunctive and conducive to helping students learn. I think if you sit with a tutor and they really want to be there, they really think that you can get it, they're really engaged with you, they don't mind being a little silly, a little cringy, it really helps students stay engaged with material and understand that in terms of a team, that the tutor and the student are a team. And together, you know, as silly as it may seem to be learning chemistry when it's not what you want to do, or, you know, how does this math, like, I don't feel like I'm going to use it. If you bring that passion, you bring that energy, you bring that sort of excitement, students tend to really fall into that, and it helps them learn and retain that information a lot more. So I think balancing that with, you know, that more so like supportive and an empathetic open space, I think that combination of those two personalities helps students feel like they are safe in these tutoring spaces to learn, to make mistakes, to ask questions, and to maybe enjoy a bit more what they didn't think they would like.
Okay, that sounds amazing. Going back to learning certain lingo, I definitely know that. I recently just became familiar with what Roblox is. So it's a learning experience for both of us, you know, the tutor and the student, we're always learning.
Absolutely.
So tell me then, how do you tailor your coaching methods to fit the distinct learning styles and temperaments of individual students?
Yeah, I think when it comes to tutoring, I like it because it's an individual's game. I think the whole point of having the asset of an academic coach is so that your student, your child gets that one-on-one look at how their brain works and how they learn. I think coming from a medicine background with, you know, highlights in psychology, it's very interesting to me to look at different cognitive styles for students, whether it be visual and auditory, whether we need more tactile, whether it's dealing with students who have ADHD. I think I've learned a lot of different tips and tricks to work with different cognitive mindsets, but also within the lens of different subjects. Like, for example, chemistry has a lot of theory, but it has a lot of mathematical practicality. So you need to not only understand the cognitive preferences of your student, but you need to understand what exercises may best reinforce the content. Whereas something like English is going to be completely different, playing on more creative roles. So I think having that background as I approach students allows me to know what I'm looking for when I'm making those introductions, to ask very specific, and I'll say like intentional questions of my students as I really study them and I look at them to see, all right, what implementations do I have to make for them to be their most successful? And then it's going the extra step and teaching them about their own learning habits and styles so that they can continue to use those tools beyond just the subject I'm coaching them in. So I think that it's very important for me to be able to read my students, but I loved building that experience where I know what I'm looking for.
Yes, okay. I love that. I will say, you know, being an English tutor, you get so creative. I had a whole lesson discussing the entire plot of the Star Wars series as it relates to the hero's journey just this week. And it was probably one of the most engaged lessons I've ever had with one of my students. And as someone who's also like a massive nerd, it was one of the most fun experiences. So going off of that, with your students, what are your specific strategies you have for keeping them motivated?
Yes, so student motivation is one of the biggest things in tutoring because it's the part that I can't do for them. So I love when students are able to find some sort of agency in their sessions, whether that's, okay, it's your job to send me notes and what you want to work on before. You are like reminding them, you're the one in charge of this session. This is for you. Like, you can either take advantage of it or not, right? Guide me through what we want to accomplish. Like, really asking questions that get to the very heart of what they want to do. And an example I always think of is I once tutored a student with a, I think, 2.3 GPA, struggling across the board in all subjects. And I finally asked him and I said, hey, what do you want to do with your life? Like, what is your ultimate goal? What is your dream job? What do you want to do? He says, okay, well, I want to be a professional photographer. And it clicked for me. I was like, oh, no wonder he's not motivated for all these subjects. He doesn't see how they tie to his dream goal. And in that moment, I was like, I'm going to explain something to you. The reason they're having you do this is not necessarily because you're going to need it in your dream job, but they need to know that you know how to work hard and that you know how to do things that sometimes you don't want to do. I'm like, if this is your dream, I want to help you get there, but this is a game. And right now we're losing this game that is standing between you and your dream. And I think that conversation was very important for me as a tutor, because as much as I am someone who loves chemistry and biology and could talk about it all day, I understand that some of my students don't feel that way. So in order to really keep them motivated, I like to know, why are we here? What is the true purpose? And what is it that I'm actually helping you to do? Because yes, I will help you learn chemistry and I will help you pass that test. But if the student doesn't see it in a context of how it really helps them and what they want, it's a lot harder to stay motivated. So I learned early on to ask those questions, to be reassuring and to remind them of why they're there. And that really helps in motivating students.
Okay, that's beautiful. As someone who also sometimes has that one student who's getting a little more difficult to motivate, I will say that is amazing. Students love having structure to their lessons. So I agree, you make them feel responsible for their own success and they will start to fully understand why it all connects. So I would say the last question then, while we're on the subject of your students, what is the most fulfilling thing you get out of your session with all of your students?
Oh boy. I think to have been in this space for 10 years, I think just almost all of it is really fulfilling for me. And I will say I do love the text messages that are like, oh my gosh, Quinn, I got an A on this test, or my grade went up like a whole letter grade, or I got my dream score on this SAT. I love those text messages and I love getting that information. I love when the results are there because I think it's so important for students to see how their hard work has paid off. But a lot of times it's the small moments in session. It's the student transitioning from, I don't know, for every answer into, okay, well, I'll guess this one, or maybe this. And you start to see it in their eyes, that little bit of confidence, that less hesitation in answering. They're staying more engaged. I'm reminding them, you know this. And they're like, you're right, I do. And I think it's that transition into confidence, that realization, not just of the conceptual idea, but I, one, have learned this and I know it, right? That realization. And then two, I can learn difficult things. I think that is what keeps me coming back. It's helping students realize this is not tougher than you. You can be tougher than this subject. And it's when they realize it, that confidence, that engagement, I think that's what it's all about, because they're going to continue to have to learn things throughout their life, not just in school settings. And if they're able to internalize that message, that one message, then I believe that I have done my job in full.
That is wonderful. I will say, so I know you work with high schooler and older kids. As someone who works with younger kids, because I specialize more so in language development and phonetics, the most rewarding part is when they start to tell me how their day was and how they felt throughout their day, and little bits of their day that they feel comfortable enough to share with me. I find it is the absolute most rewarding thing. Or when they start to feel comfortable enough to ask questions about stuff that we read about, because I will explain to them in depth. I had a student ask me, what are catacombs? And I was like, well, let me find you a picture and then I will answer all the questions you have about it. Because again, it's especially when you are working with younger students, it's a learning process for both of you, and you have to be comfortable with accepting every single question. And yes, the little wins are absolutely amazing for each and every one of our students, and we celebrate them more so as tutors too. Well, thank you so much for your time, Quinn. I've loved every one of your answers.
Thanks.